My husband hasn't been home much in 2 years, acting strange, and wants to separate. My husband and I have been married 6 years, no kids, and his career keeps him away from home quite often. I'm pretty used to it, but after having a pretty bad health scare in December, I was hospitalized with stage 2 sepsis and pneumonia 15 days into his 6 months of travel for work, and things have gotten bad. For context, we haven't been great to each other for 2 years, and he's been home only 4 months in those 2 years. The distance is straining, but I have always felt we try to understand each other and communicate often about how we're feeling and stay supportive of each other. Shortly after getting out of the hospital, his responses were getting shorter and the calls were less often. I tried so hard, maybe too hard, to get him to open up and to figure out what was wrong, but the lack of emotional support I think stressed me out so much, and I just kept getting back-to-back upper respiratory infections. I'm sure it was due to the sepsis and my body recovering too. I eventually made the decision to focus on my health and not our relationship, since I wasn't getting anything back anyway. It broke my heart, but I eventually started to feel better and have less infections. However, this led to us not speaking for 31 days. I eventually reached out and he just had a mood about everything and seemed uninterested in talking or how I was doing. It started to hurt really bad. I knew he wasn't having a good time, but just knowing that he was going through shit and hearing it from him would have been something we could have shared and talked about together. This led to me opening myself up to someone that was not my husband I had recently met. The emotional affair got physical, and this went on for a month or two until I found out my husband's job was relocating us overseas. I thought this would be the thing that reconnect us, but every call/email was curt and all business. I had a lot to do and he wasn't home to take care of it, so it fell on my shoulders, but it was something I was expecting. He eventually came home, went through my phone, which we have never done to each other before, found out about the affair, asked me about it, and I told him everything. I was eager to get to the why I had done this. I wanted to talk and figure out what happened to us, why he wasn't making himself available, especially after going through the most traumatic event of my life and almost dying. He admitted he hasn't been great and apologized, but we haven't really said much else about it, and he's been acting weird, i.e. hiding his phone screen when I'm around, accusing me of acting strange even before he went through my phone. I also found a scrunchie with his stuff that is not mine. Before I could ask him about he said his sister sent it for me. I messaged her a thank you, but she hasn't replied. I'm trying not to look into that and almost omitted it from the post, but it's something that's bothered me. We leave for a new country in a month, and a week ago he said we should separate and I should just stay in the apartment in the States. He said he'd give me an allowance to get me on my feet and isn't arguing about me keeping the dog. I am just devastated. I started seeking therapy a while back, and after 2 sessions I have to report my therapist for dropping the N-word so casually. The fucks, I don't care, but sheesh, I don't know how this woman has a license. Oh, and she Facebook friend requested me so she can send me inspirational TikToks. WTF. Anyway, rant over. So, I guess I'm here asking Reddit for advice. Or maybe I just wanted to get this out there and get responses from a third party. I'm hurt and I know I deserve better than this, and yes, I know, I cheated and some would say I don't, but I do deserve to have a partner that gives me confidence and makes me feel wanted and worth a damn. I also can't just step away from this marriage we haven't even worked on. It's been a rough 3 years for the entire world. We haven't been given the chance to be together and work through our pain. I eventually told my husband last night that I think he's struggling with something big, internally, and he will never be able to love me the way I need him to. I told him I am not suffering the way he is and I have an abundance of support, and I know he has not talked to anybody about the struggles he's internalizing. I told him I wanted nothing more than to move to a new country and start an exciting adventure, but I didn't want to do it with him, and that's partially true. I absolutely don't want to continue a relationship with the man he's become. It was like a weight was lifted off his shoulders. I could see it in his face. He hugged me for the first time in weeks and thanked me. He's already been more at ease and willing to talk and even just joke around. It's less awkward, but I don't know what any of this means. Did he ever love me? I also have no idea how I am going to explain any of this to my job, who has been investing in lawyers so that I can keep my job while overseas. So, there's my job, and my friends and family. I will have to explain this without getting upset and feeling all this pain over and over again. Thoughts? Comment. It's been building for years. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a side piece, but she would be a symptom, not a cause. Stay in the States and separate, sorry. A scrunchie for a present? I don't think so. He's just happy he has a hall pass to do whatever he wants with the side piece. The best you can do for yourself is move on, explore your side piece, and accept you two weren't a good match. Maybe it's no one's fault, life just happens. You can find ways to be happy without him. You'll be okay. You're already moving in the right direction. I think the separation killed your relationship. You said you don't want to walk away from the marriage, but maybe it's for the best. I think communicating could have saved the relationship, but it's too late. You're not happy with him, and he seems happy without you. Next story 2. How do I forgive my boyfriend's betrayal? Hey everyone. Warning in advance, this is long-winded and poorly templated as I'm on iPhone. So I'm in a bit of a pickle regarding my relationship. My boyfriend and I have been in a relationship for just under a year, 1 year in October, and overall it's been a very happy relationship. Of course we have our ups and downs, but I truly love this man more than I've ever loved a person. However, towards the beginning of our relationship, roughly 9 or so months ago I wanna say, he betrayed me in a way I haven't been able to get over. We'd had a very nice day, I'd made dinner and was washing dishes with him behind me playing on his phone. I'm not an insecure person, I've never been the type to peek at someone's phone or spy or anything like that, but I had leaned back to rest my back on his chest and I couldn't help but notice he snatched his phone away from my line of sight and shut it off. He'd never done anything like this before, and so of course alarm bells rang in my head. I asked him who he was texting and he immediately said no one and tried walking away. I felt that sinking in my gut, the nasty one where everything feels like it's slowing down around you, dousing you in cold water, and so I asked him again who he had been texting. My boyfriend is easily the worst liar I've ever met, and so as he tried telling me that it was no one, and then it was just a girl he knew in high school who was obsessed with a friend of his, and then it was just a group chat with his friends, I obviously knew he was lying to me. I demanded for the first time in my life to see his phone and he refused, also a first. I knew then 100% without a doubt what was happening. I began to tear up, fairly certain this was the first time he'd seen me cry as well, lol. He spent the next few hours trying to convince me it was a group chat with his friends where they talked about bad things they'd done and that he couldn't tell me because it would be a betrayal to them, blah blah whatever. I obviously knew this dumbass was lying to me, so I pushed him to tell me what these big bad secrets were that he was protecting. I asked him why his friends' secrets were more important than our relationship. I asked him why he felt he couldn't tell me, couldn't trust me. Hours dragged by and little by little he told me some truly horrible things about these people he called friends, and I once again asked him to prove it and show me. He refused. I tearfully broke down and told him I truly believed he was cheating on me. I told him I didn't believe his bullshit story and that I wouldn't be with someone who would do something like this to me. He kinda just collapsed on himself and said that he just couldn't tell me. My heart kinda just shattered, and I went to bed, telling him I would decide if we were still together in the morning. The morning came and went and I continued texting him. That afternoon he came over and we sat down and talked. He finally told me what I believed to be most of the truth, that he had been talking to his ex, that she had realized he'd blocked her on Insta and had texted him saying that she missed him and whatever the fuck else nasty girls who like to ruin relationships say. I asked to read the messages and get this, he deleted them. Every message between them. His excuse was that he felt shitty, Come on bro, at least try with this whole lying thing, and he just wanted to be rid of them. I know what I should have done. I know what I would advise anyone to do in my situation, but that's not what I did. He was sincere, so apologetic, so truthful. He swore up and down he would never hurt me like that again. He cried and begged me, on his knees, for just one more chance to prove himself. And so I told him this was it. He would get no more chances after this. I expected perfection, a complete open phone policy, and to not be surprised if I dumped him over the next few weeks. I told him how he destroyed my trust in him, how badly he had hurt me. He cried and told me how sorry he was, how stupid. As time went by he followed on his word and our relationship grew stronger. The issue is the memory will occasionally just pop into my brain and I relive it all again. How hurt and angry I was, asking myself why he would delete those messages if he was telling the truth, and I think about how if I were anyone else I would have advised them to break up with him. How do I move on from this? He's rebuilt my trust and I'm happy with our relationship. We're talking about marriage within the next year. I just wish I could see those messages, lol. I wish I could get that closure. Please help. Comment. So. A year in October, but this massive breach of trust happened roughly 9 months ago, meaning November or December. He did this within the first 10 to 12 weeks of your relationship, and for some inexplicable reason you chose to stay. I'm honestly not surprised it pops up in your mind. My ex once said he found some of my underwear in his laundry that I'd forgotten, and when I went to pack it, it wasn't mine. That was about 2 years into the relationship. He somehow convinced me not to dump him back then, swore up and down he didn't cheat, and I actually couldn't see how it would have logistically been possible, but to this day, years after the breakup and more importantly years into an actually happy relationship, I don't know what to think about that incident when I'm reminded of it for some reason. Why am I telling you this? Because I don't think you will ever forget about this completely. Not knowing what's true but knowing something wasn't okay will linger. I'm fairly sure I'd have left if that had happened after just a few weeks. You need to decide for yourself how much it affects you. I could have spared myself a lot of pain if I had left at that point, but then hindsight is 20/20. Has that really been your only issue? What are those other downs among the UPS? Are they really non-issues, or are they all red flags which on their own seem small enough but might be a real issue if they add up? You don't. People will most likely say this, and this should be most if not all comments you see. Are you really willing to move on with your relationship while that question stays rent-free in your head? It may be hard, but you should really reconsider your situation. Also, English is not my first language, sorry for any mistakes. Honestly. The ex texting him isn't the problem. The lying. The games. The subterfuge and the deleting the texts is. You are 20. You have this whole big beautiful life in front of you. Think of this as a starter/learning relationship and move on. You won't forget the feeling of mistrust here if you have not forgotten it now.